Hello, everyone. A very logical day to all of you. And here we are with the first editorial of the 5th of August of the Indian Express. We'll explain it a little, and how we go about it is the reading part first. So let us see what the heading says. It says licenseraj.com. And if you remember, License Raj was before 1991. And if you know the economic reforms, and then comes the LPG, that is, most of you know the full form of it. If not, then this is something that you should read about. Also, liberalization, प्राइवेटाइजेशन एंड ग्लोबलाइजेशन, ये वर्ड्स तो तुमने सब सुने हुए हैं, लेकिन इसके ऊपर पढ़ना बहुत जरूरी हो जाता है. सो दैट इज ओनली licenseraj.com. Right, that was only license raj. Now it is licenseraj.com. So that means something similar to that has occurred. So let us see what the reading part says. In the pre-1991 era, Indian governments routinely relied on repressive policies such as quotas and higher tariffs in order to curb the imports. Curb means to put a stop on. Right? So repressive is suppressive. So Infosys founder N.R. Narayan Murthy once famously recounted का मतलब होता है ऐसे बोली बिस्ती पुरानी बातें बता देना, उसे recounting कहते हैं. How he had to wait for 3 years and undertake several trips to Delhi to import a computer because of the strict licensing regime. So this part only becomes an example of what? Of the oppressive policies of the government that was before 1991. Now, the adverse consequences that such policies had on the economy have been well documented. That means so many people who were on the receiving end of this repressive policy, all those things have been well documented. Despite that, in a move that harks back to the socialist past, the government of India on Tuesday issued an order requiring licenses to import laptops, tablets, and other devices with immediate effect. ये हो गया अभी return to the लाइसेंस राज वाली बात कि ये सब वेल डॉक्यूमेंटेड था. एडवर्स कॉन्सिक्वेंसेस थे. इन स्पाइट ऑफ दैट, it is being repeated now. It harks back to the socialist past. What will happen? This could open the door for imposition of similar licensing requirements in other sectors, increasing the space for bureaucratic discretion. Okay, this is what the author's opinion is, that what all can happen. ऑथर का पॉइंट है या ओपिनियन है? उसका पॉइंट तो नहीं है, ये ओपिनियन है अभी सिर्फ. ठीक है, बट देन such controls on economic activities will only diminish the vibrancy of the economy that was unleashed after the 91 reforms. Yes, this last sentence would be the point of the author, and the opinion would be the previous sentence, which says that, see, this could open the doors for imposition of similar licensing requirements in other sectors also, right? So now, if you see the main point of the whole passage, here it comes. So repressive policies such as quotas and higher tariffs in order to curb the imports, then adverse consequences that such policies had on the economy have been well documented. This was the reasoning part, and in between comes the example part, right? And then this could open the door for imposition of similar licensing requirements in other sectors, increasing the space for bureaucratic discretion. This is what the author is afraid of. इससे होगा क्या? ऐसे कंट्रोल्स अगर होते हैं तो जैसे दिस इज गोइंग टू डिमिनिश द वाइब्रेंसी. इससे ज्यादा कुछ नहीं, वाइब्रेंसी कम हो जाएगी. Now, the move is ostensibly aimed at promoting domestic manufacturing and curbing imports from China. Ostensibly means apparently. ठीक है, it appears, it is apparent. कि ostensible यानी जो दिखाई देता है, राइट, मटीरियलिस्टिक अगर हम देखेंगे तो. अब ये ऐसा किया क्यों? गवर्नमेंट ने ऐसा सोचा क्या? एंड देन इट टुक दिस स्टेप. Right now, according to the author, it is ostensibly aimed at promoting domestic manufacturing, ठीक है, and curbing imports from China. This is the reason, according to the author. R in prep. 2022-23 imports of personal computers, laptops, etc. stood at 5.3 billion, with China accounting for an overwhelming share of these. However, as no warning or time has been given to equipment manufacturers, as per some reports, the government might delay its implementation by at least a month. कि जिनका ऑर्डर है, जिनका मैन्युफैक्चरिंग है, right? So they would be they would be in trouble otherwise. So maybe उसे immediate effect कहा था, तो यहाँ पे author बोलता है कि हो सकता है ये delay हो जाए for a month. This decision will lead to unnecessary disruption in the immediate term. Create supply shortages, ये भी हो सकता है, drive up prices of the equipment, क्योंकि सप्लाई कम हो जाएगा तो इक्विपमेंट की प्राइस बढ़ जाएगी, राइट यहाँ पे वो इकोनॉमिक्स की बात कर लेते हैं कि क्या इफेक्ट होगा इसका मार्केट पे. सो ऑल दिस इज बीइंग गिवन एज अ रीजनिंग टू शो द इफेक्ट्स ऑफ दैट decision that has been taken in the first paragraph. Now, while it may force companies to manufacture in the country, considering the huge market that India offers, there may be cost disadvantages. तो ये भी हो सकता है, ठीक है. There would be people who would be, there would be companies who would manufacture, but then cost का problem हो जाएगा, इतना cost effective नहीं होगा, maybe. There may be cost disadvantages. This is what he's saying. Now, moreover, it is one thing for the government to adopt policies that facilitate the creation of a computer manufacturing ecosystem in the country, and quite another to use a sledgehammer approach to achieve its goals. मतलब अगर वो फैसिलिटेट करते कि ठीक है हम इंडिया में ही कंप्यूटर्स मैन्युफैक्चर करते हैं, अगर इस तरीके से उन्हें कुछ हेल्प हो जाता, फैसिलिटी मिल जाती, तो दैट वुड बी अ पॉजिटिव impact, or that would be a positive step towards all this, right, towards achieving this computer manufacturing. But now this is considered to be a sledgehammer approach. The sledgehammer approach हम वैसे ही समझ सकते हो कि hammer का मतलब होता है ना, hammer it into your mind. अभी हमने a few days back only I think so this word was there in the VCS or mock CLAT also, right? To hammer it again and again. So in a country with a vibrant IT services sector, with a government that envisions digital India, कंट्री इतना आगे सोच रही है, गवर्नमेंट जो है वो डिजिटल इंडिया का सोच रही है, एंड वन दैट इज सॉट टू एनकरेज द स्टार्टअप इकोसिस्टम, दिस इज एन अनकॉल्ड फॉर डिसीजन. मतलब अनकॉल्ड फॉर डिसीजन मतलब ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए था अकॉर्डिंग टू द ऑथर, right? So this again becomes the main point of the author, that if the country had facilitated the manufacturing, it would have been okay, but this approach is something that the country should not have, or the government should not have taken. Unfortunately, it is not a one-off, right? So the main point here now becomes it is not a one-off. मतलब ये इकलौता एरिया नहीं है जहाँ पे ऐसी बात है, मतलब और भी चीजें होंगी. So the policy establishment has in recent years drawn inspiration from the country's socialist past far too often. For instance, again an example, the government has recently banned the exports of rice and imposed stockholding limits on pulses. It had also brought spending by credit card under the liberalized remittance scheme, now in abeyance. In abeyance means to hold it for some time, which meant that transactions via cards outside India would attract a higher rate of TCS, that is tax collected at source. Such moves indicate. Now, if we read, whenever we read this, they give us only one side of the thought process. Right. So we don't need to delve into all these things right now. At this point, our task is only to understand whatever is being written there and to get to the main point. हमारा task ये है, right? But many a times this is a leaning one होता है कोई भी article. So you need to understand that. Even as the rest of the country has traveled well beyond its socialist past, the establishment hasn't, at least not adequately. It still tends to cling to the old playbook. टू क्लिंग टू दी ओल्ड प्लेबुक मतलब पहले जो चलता था वही आजकल भी चलने लगा है धीरे धीरे. दिस टेंडेंसी थ्रेटन्स टू undo the economic gains that have accrued is collected to the country from the dismantling of the license permit raj in the decades of the 90s. तो जब वो डिसमेंटल हुआ था लाइसेंस परमिट राज, लाइसेंस राज जब खत्म हुआ था, तब जो बेनिफिट्स मिले, इकोनॉमिक गेन्स मिले, अभी वो धीरे धीरे कम हो जाएंगे इफ दिस ऑल दिस इज रिसोर्टेड टू. So if it is not a one-off, then the rest of the paragraph was given an example, right? So the main idea would be here. Turning back the clock undermines the promise of digital India because we need to go ahead. The country has seen or envisioned that कि और आगे जाएंगे डिजिटल इंडिया में पर ये थोड़ा थोड़ा पीछे चलते जा रहे हैं. That is what the author is saying. Going back towards the socialist. But then reading various, as I said earlier, reading various articles would help you understand why the bans are being put or why this so-called license raj या license की जरूरत क्यों पड़ी. That is what you need to understand in a holistic manner. So in the case of vocabulary, we have a few words here. Socialist will be like where mainly the resources would be with the government. Repressive is suppressive. Vibrant is like colorful, lively. And it harks back means it keeps on saying, it goes back. Ostensibly, I said apparently, dismantling is dissembling. Uncalled for means not required or not to be done, a step not to be taken or should not be taken. In abeyance is like endless delay, you don't know when the thing is being resumed. So in abeyance means ended for some time, or what you can say is suspended for some time. तो इन होल जैसे डिले बोलते हैं ना, उसको डिले तो नहीं होगा, पोस्टपोन किया जाता है, लेकिन पता नहीं है कब तक. Drive up the prices, you can understand, to cling to the old playbook we just understood, and sledgehammer approach is like a very strong autocratic approach. Right. So that's all for today. And thank you. And yes, have a very logical day and a week ahead. Bye.